Are you ready to go?
Wow, you're a tough nut to crack.
Hello, survivors, and welcome to Survivor's Guild, the only channel that determines your odds of surviving 2017's serial-killing sequel, Creep 2. So stay tuned till the end for your survival stats. I'm your sharp-dressed slasher turned, did we just become best friends? GhostFake. Before we begin, go ahead and admit how much killing you've done to the like button and see if it sticks around. And go ahead and nail that subscribe button in the head with an axe, because it was the greatest that ever lived. And make sure you give the share button the old blue balls by rubbing its back in the hot tub before leaving. Now I hope you like serial killers giving you their body counts within 5 minutes of meeting them, because this movie is getting spoiled. Creep 2, written by Mark Duplass and Patrick Brice, and directed by Patrick Brice, starring Mark Duplass and Desiree Akhavan. Creep 2 is about the continuing exploits of a serial killer formerly known as Bill, formerly known as Joseph, as he comes to blows with his greatest foe yet, a midlife crisis. We open up to Dave, who's just received a box in the mail containing a DVD that says "Watch Me," and a video camera that is already watching. He brings the box into his house and puts in the DVD. It begins with a man whistling the Peach Fuzz tune before he hears a knock on the door. It turns out to be Dave's good friend, who is worried about Dave, as he appears troubled. We find out here that we are viewing this from a camera stuffed inside a stuffed baby wolf, and now we know what it's like to be a stuffed baby wolf. Dave plays the video for him, and it apparently depicts a video of him taken when he was unaware. Dave gets up to get them both a beer, and Bill/Joseph says hello to the camera and aims it at the table.
Hello.
Before he tells Dave that he's worried about their friendship, and comes clean about how they met, and the fact that his stalker started showing up around the same time, and ultimately that he's been recording him in some way, shape, or form since they met, explaining that there's even a camera in the stuffed wolf.
This is Baby Peach Fuzz. Say hi.
He then comes clean that since he's turned 40, he's lost his inspiration and joy in what he does. But when Dave attempts to leave the table, he slices him across the throat, slicing Dave into the meat bank at deposit number 39. And I know that doesn't match the count from the end of the last movie, but I'll explain in a little bit.
God damn it.
We cut over to Sarah, who hosts an online web series called Encounters, where she responds to online personal ads of people looking for companionship and films her time with unique people. People who are just looking for someone to talk to, or to stare at, or to mommy them. But in spite of her heart, the views just aren't there. 9 views? That's like a tenth of a penny! And she's reconsidering even continuing the series, believing it to be another one of her failures and that she won't be able to reach the intended audience. Welcome to the world of online content creation, where the algorithm is God. Cut to the next day, when she admits that she was being dramatic, before she shows an ad that she just found requesting a videographer. She reaches out and lets him know that she is interested, and they set up a meeting. Sarah drives for 3 hours into the woods to meet him, recognizing that this is not a great situation to put herself into.
Normally, this is not a situation I would allow myself to get into.
But that the danger of it all might make the show better. She walks into the house and finds the man, who is currently nameless, making a smoothie in the kitchen, which he then offers to her before he introduces himself as Aaron.
I'm Aaron.
Oh. That's sick. Or maybe beautiful. I'm not sure which. She introduces herself as Sarah, and he quickly realizes that she's giving him her real name.
Sarah.
Wow, that's your real name. Thanks for that.
And they sit down to talk about the job. He asks her what she does for a living, and she leaves out the part about encounters, before she asks him what he does.
I am what is commonly known as a serial killer.
He confesses immediately that he kills people, before mentioning that he'd rather be known as a murderer, but that his numbers dictate that he's a serial killer.
Serial killer.
Okay, yes, I am a killer. I have killed 39 people.
Oh man, giving your body count on the first date, huh? Wow. He then explains that he's killed 39 people. Now listen, look, I know Aaron isn't the most trustworthy guy. Sure, he's lied about his name, and yeah, he's lied about his backstory, and yeah, he's lied about not being a danger to the other Aaron, and about his cancer, and of course about Peach Fuzz. But I trust him, having killed 39 people, and if you knew Aaron like I know Aaron, you'd trust him too. And so maybe you need to look at your own heart, you know? Do some introspection. Anyway, Aaron goes on to explain that he's turning 40 soon, and that killing just isn't what it used to be, telling her that killing was essentially a religion to him, and that each murder was like a spiritual experience. But now it feels like a job, and that now he's just sad all the time. But he tells her about a quote that he read from Francis Ford Coppola, where he stated, quote, he hasn't made an original film since The Conversation in 1974, and that he's not sure he's even capable of it, but he really wants to keep trying.
And man, that hit me like a sack of bricks.
A quote from which Aaron draws a lot of hope, explaining that instead of trying to make films from his past, he wants to try to make a new film, a documentary embracing where he is now. He gives Sarah the chance to bail if she's not interested, but promises that he won't kill her over the next 24 hours, and that he'll give her total access to him, and that together they will make magic. She tells him that she wants to make the movie, which surprises him, and he then shows her the video where he kills old Aaron, before he turns the camera on her and asks if it scared her.
Did it scare you?
Did you want it to scare me?
He runs off upstairs, and Sarah explains to the camera with him out of earshot that she's actually more concerned than she put on. But before she can do anything too hasty, Aaron returns wearing only a towel. He tells her that they need to break down the gender wall, the wall of, "I wonder what you look like naked," and he rips off his towel, exposing himself when she says she agrees. And after standing uncomfortable for a while, she asks to go next.
Is it my turn?
I'm sorry?
And hands him the camera and undresses herself, and they quickly agree to move on. A short time later, Sarah heads to the bathroom and confesses to the camera that Aaron is unpredictable and potentially dangerous, but that the opportunity is greater than the risk, and that she seriously doubts that he is actually a serial killer, but just in case, she hides a knife in her boot. She leaves the bathroom and the two of them head to Aaron's first shooting location, with Aaron wearing the peach fuzz mask, asking her if she thinks it's scary, to which she says it's cute. Throughout their interactions, Aaron has tried to scare her in various ways, and none of them have worked, setting up a fun tension between the two of them, of an insecure dude constantly being humbled by the lady he is trying to scare.
Tell me about your best friend.
You're asking a lot of questions.
Which frustrates him greatly. He takes her to the location he scouted, only to find that what was once a raging river has turned into a dried up stream, with Aaron panicking about the scene. Sarah tells him to improvise, reminding him of the Francis Ford quote, and he decides to wing it.
Airplane. Wait, let's wait this out.
But when airplanes and birds interrupt his lines, he decides that he needs a break and runs off into the woods. And eventually Sarah finds him face down in the dirt, and she comforts him. Later that day, Sarah updates the camera explaining that Aaron has been sulking for hours, and that she's going to interrupt him since he's so vulnerable, and she wants to provoke him for good footage. She heads down to the hot tub and refuses to leave when he tells her to, telling her that he no longer wants to make the documentary. But she continues poking the bear and provoking him, prodding him with questions.
But I promise you, you do not know my story.
He goes on to tell her about the time when he was 15 and he went out to a show, and proceeded to party with the band. But when they moved on, he headed back to town, only to be picked up by an older man who ended up trying to kill him, who tied him up and took him deep into the woods, and made him dig his own grave. But Aaron was able to break free, and he strangled the man to death, and that ever since he's believed that it was his destiny to kill, and that every victim he has, his spirit soaks up theirs and they become a part of him, until now that is, as he feels that all of that has left him, and that he wants her to leave because tonight is going to be a bad night. But Sarah climbs into the hot tub and proceeds to massage him before telling him that she's going to go take a shower, and she leaves. Sometime later, Aaron picks up the camera and records a message for Sarah letting her know how special she is.
I think you are really, really special.
And that she may just be his muse. He sneaks his way to her shower, but she jump scares him before he can jump scare her. Later, Sarah asks him if he ever feels bad for his victims, and he says no, feeling that he gives them ample, yet subtle warnings about what they are getting into, convincing himself that he is so obvious in his intentions that it's almost like they want to die, before reassuring Sarah that he said that he wouldn't kill her, and that he intends on honoring that promise.
They said you wouldn't kill me within the next 24 hours, so.
Before she mentions the 24-hour part.
Now why would you bring that up? That only gets you into trouble.
Later, Aaron calls out Sarah on her lies of omission, bringing up the show encounters as well as the knife that was in her boot, telling her that he's not mad, but that he has a question for her and he wants her to answer honestly. She reluctantly agrees, and he asks her if she believes that he's a serial killer, to which she says no. He asks her why, and she says that it's because his stories have been unbelievable, and that the idea of making a documentary as a serial killer is ridiculous, because she could always just go to the police. But he tells her that she won't be going to the police.
You won't go to the police tomorrow, because tomorrow I'll be dead.
And that Sarah will be the one to kill him. But when Sarah tries to protest, Aaron explains to her that the film he wants to make is the one where the pupil, Sarah, fells the king, Aaron, and that it will be a great piece of content for her. Aaron runs upstairs to get the peach fuzz mask before handing Sarah an axe, before he lays down on the table and tells her to cut his head off.
I sharpen the axe, it should go straight through my neck. There are very few bones, let's do it!
But Sarah can't bring herself to bring down the axe, and later Aaron decides on a different route, that obviously the chopping thing was a little bit much for Sarah, so instead he is going to hang himself.
So, this is a much better idea. I should have thought of this in the first place.
and as long as she doesn't save him, she'll be complicit enough. He asks if she is ready, and in the middle of her reply, lets himself off the fascia. But Sarah runs over to him and eventually uses her body weight to tear down the rope from whatever it's connected to, and frees him from the noose. Later, Aaron catches Sarah about to leave, being super pissed that he was actually going to self-deposit himself, and that he put her in that position.
Sarah, did I freak you out by hanging off? What?
Aaron tells her not to be mad and runs over to grab a harness, claiming that he was never going to self-deposit himself and that he was always wearing the harness and was never in danger, before telling her that he really likes her and wanted to do whatever he could to give her the best episode of Encounters yet.
Am I a murderer? No.
He then says that he's not really a murderer and that he's just felt like they connected really well, and he has never connected with anyone the way that he has with her. Sarah, feeling comforted that he was not actually going to self-deposit, feels better about the whole ordeal and decides to stick around. The two decide to play a game of 2 lies and 1 truth, wherein they share 3 stories about themselves, with 2 being made up and 1 being true. Aaron then tells her that he was born 3 months premature, has never been with a woman, and can hold his breath for 2.5 minutes, before admitting that the truth is that he's never been with a woman.
I think that it's the breath one.
It's number 2.
He goes on to tell her that he spent his teenage years in an institution after a psychotic break, and after that the opportunity never presented itself. Sarah offers to give him his first kiss, and he agrees. Later, the 2 of them are walking in the woods, and Aaron tells her that he's super excited about the climax of the episode, and tells her that before they get there he has a surprise for her, presenting her with a locket containing a picture of him and old Aaron, which he then puts on her. He then shows her the grave that he dug for her earlier in the day. She asks him when he dug it, and he says,
I dug it before you got here. I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be for me or for you.
He then shows her that he has her knife.
Ta-da! Oh, nope. It's yours.
And he turns the knife on himself and begins stabbing himself in the abdomen. Before turning the camera on himself, which is less stabby, and then telling her that the grave will be for the both of them, Romeo and Juliet style, handing her the knife to use it to self-deposit herself. But instead, she runs away and he chases after her. He loses sight of her and begins calling out to her, telling her that she's in the middle of nowhere and that he has her keys, so she's got nowhere to go. She comes out of nowhere and attacks him, causing him to drop the camera, and he takes off after her. But when she falls, he catches up to her and begins stabbing her. Cut to the grave that he dug as he's dragging Sarah's body to it. He dumps her body into it before climbing out himself and crawling over to the camera. He tells the camera that he doesn't think that he's going to die, and that he feels really bad since the whole thing was his idea.
So, I don't think I'm gonna die tonight. I kind of feel bad about it.
But commend Sarah on the great episode of Encounters that she made. While in the background, Sarah climbs out of the grave and grabs a shovel, and she sneaks up behind him and knocks him out. Cut to sometime later when someone is following Sarah around the city and filming her. When she gets onto the subway and the cameraman begins whistling Peach Fuzz's theme song. And Sarah notices them, and the movie ends. So now, to find out, what are your chances of suffering survivor's guilt? This is where we take a look at our main characters and the death that surrounds them to determine your odds of surviving this movie. We start off our meat bank deposits with Dave, friend zoning into the meat bank at deposit number 39, since he was Aaron's 39th into the meat bank. Now let's take a look at our survivors. We've got Joseph, Bill, Aaron, and Sarah, which means that out of a total of 41 characters, only 2 survive, giving you a 4.9% chance of surviving this movie. Given those odds, how quickly would you leave when he tells you he's a serial killer? Let me know in the comments below. And if this is your first time on my channel, go ahead and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos. And a huge thanks to my patrons for their continued support. I seriously appreciate it. And, as always guys, thanks, and don't die.
I don't think I'm gonna die tonight. I kind of feel bad about it.